Some of us are not lazy. Some of us are just emotionally overwhelmed and quietly losing hope. And because they still look like they're functioning on the outside, nobody notices. They are still working. They still replying to messages. They still showing up, still smiling. However, internally, they have started disconnecting from their own life. Not dramatically, quietly. And I think a lot of high functioning people are experiencing this right now without having the language for it.
Nhom Lau, Nhom Lau, it's all I need, yeah, yeah, it's all I need, yeah, yeah.
Quiet quitting is not always loud. Sometimes it happens internally first. It is when someone slowly loses belief in their own future. However, they are too embarrassed to admit it. So instead of saying, I feel hopeless, they say, I'll do it later. I'll start next week. I'm just tired, I need a break. And yes, sometimes people genuinely do need that rest. However, there's also a difference between resting and emotionally checking out, because eventually quiet quitting starts affecting everything else. Discipline changes, energy changes, standards changes, and consistency changes. Even small tasks begins to feel so heavy for you. And the difficult part is these high functioning people can hide emotional exhaustion so well. They still produce, still perform, still carry responsibility. However, internally their mind has started disconnecting from possibilities. You see, one of the biggest reasons this happens is prolonged overwhelmed, right? Too much pressure, too much responsibility, too much emotional weight without a proper recovery. Research around burnout consistency shows emotional exhaustion can lead to detachment, avoidance, numbness, and reduced motivation, not because someone is weak, because the human mind eventually starts protecting itself. And sometimes that protection looks like procrastination, disconnection, avoidance, emotional numbness, not laziness. This is why discernment matters, because if someone misdiagnoses themselves, they fight the wrong battle. Some people think they need motivation when actually they need emotional honesty. Some people think that they need more discipline when actually they need restoration. Some people think they are failing when they are really just carrying too much for too long. Nhom Lau mind or free mind is not about pretending everything is okay. A free mind is spacious enough to tell the truth. And one truth many people like to avoid is sometimes people are not always physically abandoning their responsibility. They're emotionally abandoning themselves, because rest helps tiredness. However, hopelessness requires reconnection to truth, reconnection to purpose, reconnection to people, reconnection to God, reconnection to self. And many people cannot recover because they keep trying to perform wellness instead of honestly acknowledging where they are emotionally. You see, one of the most dangerous things that people do is wait to feel inspired before taking action. However, emotional recovery does not always begin with inspiration. Sometimes it begins with small returns. Research on behavioral activation shows that small consistency action can help interrupt emotional shutdown patterns, meaning you do not always have to feel better before moving. Sometimes movement helps create momentum again and again. So what does that look like practically? Going to the gym even when the mind feels so heavy and tired, replying to one email instead of avoiding everything, cleaning one small space, opening the document again, taking a walk, having that hard conversation, praying honestly instead of pretending everything is actually okay, not fixing your entire life overnight, just returning one step at a time. And this is important. Hopelessness grows in isolation, and a lot of people withdraw when they are overwhelmed. They disconnect and avoid people, stop communicating, honestly, unless obviously it's time that you feel that you need to rest, but you've intentionally doing it so that you can feel better. It doesn't always work, and it doesn't work for long, right? So you stay trapped in your own thoughts when you are just constantly isolated. However, healing often requires that reconnection. People who bring clarity back to your mind, people who remind you that your future is still possible, people who help you stay connected to yourself, because sometimes the issue is not capability, it's emotional depletion. And spiritually, many people are so exhausted because they think strength means pretending. However, honesty is strength too. Sometimes prayer is simply, God, I do not feel like myself right now. And honestly, that matters, because freedom is not pretending hard seasons do not exist at all. Freedom is remaining connected to yourself while walking through them. Some of us are not lazy. Some people are quietly grieving the version of themselves they thought they would become. And they do not need shame. They need language. They need restoration. They need space to return to themselves honestly. So if you have been quietly checking out internally, this is your reminder. You have not gone too far. You can still return slowly, honestly, one step at a time. And maybe the fact that something in you is still listening means hope is not fully gone yet. I recently quite quitted something I created that is powerful, that is impacting people. I caught it, I realized it, I stopped it, and now I'm going to come back bigger, better than ever.